guys, I'm Prodigy from Airsoft Team Kilo23. Today we're not going to be reviewing a gun or any kind of odd part like that. This is kind of an interesting little different odd end review. We're going to be reviewing the Burst Wizard AEG Mosfet. Now actually the guy that makes these, friend his contacted me and said, hey, we're wanting people to review these, get them out in the open, have people talk about them. So he said, hey, we want to offer you one so you can review it, check it out. Here it is, the AEG Burst Wizard Mosfet. Now you can get this guy at aegwizard.com. Runs for $39.99. Pretty good deal, I think, compared to other Mosfets that run for anywhere from $50 to seeing them as high as about $120. But this guy, you just plug it right into where the battery goes, and you plug the battery into this. You don't have to rewire your gun or anything. You just plug it right in and pretty much go. But it's not quite the same as a normal, rewire your gun kind of Mosfet. This does not have a resettable fuse. It does not act like a fuse in any way. It is simply a burst switch, pretty much. Now, this is the newest version. It does have all the special features that you can find on the website. So it's pretty cool. It's got a sniper mode, which is actually kind of interesting to me. It puts a 1 second delay between every time you pull the trigger, whether it be full auto or semi-auto. So it's kind of interesting. Now, I wasn't really for it because I find myself pulling the trigger every 10th of a second trying to get this thing to fire, and it's not firing. Then, oh, it fired once. Yay. So yeah, sniper mode, not for me, but it works pretty well. You can also set the rate of fire with this guy. You can set the number of rounds you want in your burst. I tend to stick with 3-round burst just to make it a little more realistic, but that's just me. You can up it to like 25 rounds or something like that. It's pretty good. Now, the unit came in just a regular mailing package. All it came with was, of course, the burst unit and the instruction manual. Now, the instructions are 1 page front and back. It's in color, which is kind of cool. Now, I kind of wish the unit and the instructions had actually come in some sort of package, like a small bag or something, but they just came in the shipping envelope, so I was a little disappointed there. Oh well. So let's go up close to this little guy and check it out. Now, here's the unit. The actual unit itself, the black covered part, is about 1.5 inches long or so. So it's pretty small. If you want to just tuck it in like the handguard to the stock of your gun, it shouldn't really matter as far as space goes. Now, if you're fitting this in like a SIG or something small like that, you're going to want like an external pouch or something to accommodate for the extra room you're going to need. Originally, this thing did come with Tamiya mini connectors, but I elected to install Dean's connectors, and they work pretty well, so I'm happy with that. Now, on the far end of the unit, there is what is called the pot, or at least that's what the instruction manual calls it. It's this little Phillips head dial thing right here, and that works to control the Mosfet and the burst fire and all those features that this thing has. Now, personally, I actually prefer the trigger interface system of other units, where when you plug the battery in, you pull the trigger a certain number of times and it gives you a certain number of rattles on the motor. But this thing does it a little different. You tune this thing, when you plug the battery in, you tune it a certain way, or when the battery's plugged in, you turn it left or right, and that'll get you a certain feature, rate of fire, burst number, something along those lines. It's really not the most accurate thing in the world. I do prefer, like I said, the trigger pull system, but this thing seems to work pretty well for what you're paying for the unit. Apart from that, the unit is constructed pretty well. I'm actually really happy. You can't really ask for a lot more for 40 bucks. It does use some 16 gauge wire. It's got kind of a soft coating, so if you want to strip it and put some Dean's connectors on, it's really easy to do that. It's not like low resistance wire where you gotta actually really take your time and do it. This, you can just rip it right off. That can be a good or a bad thing. If you're putting a lot of pressure on this, it can split the wire coating pretty easily, so you want to be kind of careful with it. Now, let's get straight to a practical test of this gun. I've got it rigged up in my ICS M4 with some .23s. So we're going to see how the 3-round burst function actually works. See how consistent it is. I've got it tuned to about a 3-round burst with a 9.6 volt 1600 milliamp hour battery. The gun is pretty much stock, so you can get an idea. Now, I'm actually really surprised. It's a pretty consistent 3-round burst right there. Really happy with that. Semi-auto, you're still getting a pretty good semi-automatic. But it is my ICS M4. It is going to fire 2 rounds on semi occasionally just because it's designed that way for some reason. It's not the greatest semi-auto in the world. The instruction manual does claim this thing has active braking and soft start, which is pretty nice. Helps your motor out a little bit with the semi-auto. And the 3-round burst, excellent. Now you can tune this up to like a 25-round burst, which is a little ridiculous. I'd only want to do that on like a squad automatic or something like that. A carbine, I'd stick with no more than 5 or 6 round burst, but 3, that's where I'm at right now. Let's go ahead and switch over to the sniper mode and see how that works. Alright, so I noticed when working with this thing a little bit more that when you turn it all the way to the left, which is supposed to be sniper mode, where it puts like a 1-second interval between each shot, it doesn't always work. Actually, it really hardly ever works. It worked when I started using it, but when I actually started tinkering around with it, it didn't even fire when I had it on that setting. So I don't know what's going on with that. It does actually have, in addition to that, a rate of fire control setting. You turn the switch all the way to the right and plug the battery in, and you'll have a 100% rate of fire. When you have the battery plugged in, you start turning it a little to the left, it'll inch it down to as low as 50%. I'm not really a fan of that. It can put some wear on your gun and the Mosfet, but it does work, so that's pretty cool. I personally am going to stick with the actual 3-round burst or the normal full auto setting on this thing. I'm personally a fan of full auto. Burst fire, I'll use it occasionally, but not a huge fan. So for me, this Mosfet unit is really good for protecting your switch assembly and having a safeguard for battery spikes and stuff like that. So it's a pretty good deal. For 40 bucks, you get a lot of options here, and it works well enough for what you're paying for it. Pretty good unit overall. It works for my purposes, and I'm happy with it. I'm Prodigy from Airsoft Team Kilo23. Thanks for watching, guys.